welcome. We are delighted to be back to share with you our Eason must-read spring selection. We have 8 fantastic books and Rick has chosen 2 Doorstoppers.
I have. I'm not going to start there. I'm going to start with this. It's a K-noir book. It is a thriller from Korea, written by Go Byung-mo and translated by Chi Young Kim. I wanted to get that right. This is The Old Woman with the Knife. Hornclaw is 65 years old. She's just about to retire, except her job is a slightly different job. She's a contract killer. As a result of something that happens very close to when she's just about to give up the job, things get far more complicated and nothing is easy. And then her whole world starts to fall apart. It is funny, it is beautifully written, and it's great fun. And it's called The Old Woman with the Knife.
Okay, my first pick is Peach Blossom Spring by Melissa Fu, much easier to pronounce than Rick's one. This starts in China in 1938 as the Japanese are beginning to invade, and the 2 main characters have to flee, and they basically make their way across China, surviving on their wits and the kindness of strangers. But towards the end of the book, Renshu, who's the son, emigrates to America, and he wants to forget everything about China and everything about his past. But the second half of the book just shows you that as an immigrant, you can never really get away from your past. And his daughter, Lily, wants to know exactly where she came from, and she goes back and she finds her grandmother and she tells us the story.
Second book for me, other Irish books, take note. You have this to dethrone as the best Irish book of 2022 so far. It's Audrey McGee's The Colony. It's set in the late 1970s in an island off the coast of Ireland with the Troubles happening as a backdrop somewhere else, and it eventually does become a greater part of the story. There's a Frenchman. He goes to the island every year to study the Irish language and to study how it is disappearing on the island. An Englishman turns up one year to paint the cliffs, and then it's about how both of them become involved with people on the island, with each other, and then how all of that plays out. It is just fantastic. The Colony, Audrey McGee's new book.
My next one is the Dictator's Wife. Now, some people are saying it's based on Melania Trump, but to me, it was sounded much more kind of Imelda Marcos. So it's about a terrible dictator, Constantine Pope, and his wife, who everybody thinks knew exactly what was going on. And so the story goes on. There's a lawyer called Laura, whose parents are from this imagined country, and she goes back to defend the dictator's wife, and her parents are horrified because they think she is a terrible woman, but half of the country still love her and believe that she's innocent. So it's about what did she know, and are the wives really as innocent as sometimes they make themselves out to be?
First of my doorstops is The Love Songs of W.E.B. Du Bois. It's by Honorée Fanone Jeffers. She is a debut novelist. And this is just amazing. It's 2 stories. Ailey Garfield and her sisters in the 1980s towards the present day, and the story of their family. And then further back, the story of how their family begins before the white man comes to North America, and then how those 2 stories eventually come together. It is a doorstop. It is worth every last page of it.
My next one is Memphis by Tara Stringfellow. This is about 3 generations of strong Black women, and it's just brilliant. And it's about 2 sisters and their 2 daughters and then the nephew. Now, the nephew is a very dark and sinister person in this book, and there is some quite tricky parts, but it is generally a book about joy, about family, about compassion, about community. And it's about this community in Memphis of strong Black women who support each other through thick and thin. It's an absolute joy.
And I'm taking that home with me afterwards. Finally, To Paradise, Hanya Yanagihara's second book. You may have read A Little Life a couple of years ago. Lots of people did. This is 3 novels in one. One is a piece of historical fiction set in the 1890s in an alternate United States. One is set in the 80s and 90s during the AIDS crisis. And one is a piece of speculative fiction set in the future. All 3 are connected. There are some character names that overlap throughout all of them. It makes for one absolutely magnificent book.
Wow. Okay, my choice is When the Dust Settles by Lucy Easthope. I didn't know this job actually existed. So she is a disaster expert. So when there's a disaster, whether it's a tsunami or COVID or the earthquake in Christchurch, Lucy goes and she deals with the aftermath. So she helps the communities to rebuild. And it's really, really fascinating. And it's all about how communities come together and how they rebuild their lives. And she also really emphasizes the importance of the very, very small things that matter to people who have suffered an incredible trauma.
And those are our 8. They are varied. They're all fantastic. And those are our spring must-reads for 2022. And we hope you find something in there to enjoy.